What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef, and you already know what time it is. We are back for episode number 44 of the YAK pod. Now, we got a few things to get into today, but before we do that, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that little button down there. Turn your notifications on. Smash that like button. Share, all that good stuff. It helps to get the algorithm on my side, and if you are enjoying this content, you want the algorithm on my side. Now, let's go ahead and get to it. We have already talked a little bit about, well, not a little bit, we talked a lot. We talked very glowingly about Brad Holmes' press conference. So it's only natural that we talk about Dan Campbell's press conference, right? And they were pretty much in lockstep. We know we had the little hiccup with Brad Holmes saying that cornerback was not a need, and then Dan Campbell saying that it was a little bit more urgent to get a cornerback. However, that's not what we are here to talk about today. What we're here to talk about today is the draft strategy of the Detroit Lions. It is confirmed that they are in lockstep. Brad Holmes said BPA. Dan Campbell said BPA. Dan Campbell was asked a question about filling holes in the draft, and he said that over these 4 years, right? This is their fourth draft coming up. Before, they had so many holes that when you grab a guy that's BPA, you just so happen to fill a hole. So, for example, they didn't draft Penei Sewell because it was a need. They drafted Penei Sewell because he was the BPA. Just so happened that we didn't have a tackle. They didn't draft Aiden Hutchinson because it was a need. They drafted Aiden Hutchinson because it was BPA. We just so happened to not have an edge rusher. They didn't draft Amon-Ra St. Brown because it was a need. They drafted him because it was BPA. We just so happened to not have a reliable receiver. They didn't draft person A because it was a need. They just drafted person A because they were the BPA, and it just so happened that we didn't have insert position here. So now, going into the draft, he said this is the first year that we have pretty much all our needs and all our holes filled. So it truly is going to be BPA. So all of these mock drafts that are accounting for needs, that's not it. That's not what they're doing. They're not going to be accounting for needs. They are going to be drafting the best player available. Now, when they draft the best player available, it could be a multitude of positions. It could be a receiver. It could be a corner. I don't think it'll be a tight end, but it wouldn't be too crazy. But I do think that they would shy away from something like drafting a tight end when you have someone like Sam Laporta, who was an all-pro rookie tight end. So if they draft a tight end, it probably won't be in the first round. I'm pretty sure that would be a waste of a pick. I'm pretty sure that they could find someone on the board better than a Brock Bowers or someone like that. Now, if they're in a situation where it's looking like a tight end is going to be the best player on the board when they draft, then you'll probably look for a trade, because that would be just crazy, right? If you drafted a tight end and you already have Sam Laporta, that would be just crazy, right? I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, but I think it would be kind of kooky. You know what I mean? So at that point, I would be looking for them to either trade up or to trade down. So everything is on the table with this particular draft. When they talked about the roster building and they talked about where they are now, of course, Brad Holmes said, the job is never done. Obviously, the roster is as solid as it has been since they've been here. This is the most solid that it has been. And they've obviously gotten a lot better. They got better in free agency. Dan Campbell talked about Zeitler being the guy that they wanted. And in the case that things didn't work out with Jonah Jackson, but it was very interesting the way that he said it. He said, things didn't work out with Jonah, but, we we started talking to Kevin Zeitler at the beginning of free agency. We kind of, kept tabs on him and things of this nature. And then he goes on to say that the offensive line got better. Okay, now, I know we can all read between the lines. The offensive line got better. It didn't take a step back. So who did they sign on the offensive line? They re-signed Graham Glasgow, who was already in the building. They signed him again. Okay? He was already in the building. They let Jonah Jackson go. And then they signed Kevin Zeitler. Who's missing? Who's missing on that offensive line? I think it was Jonah Jackson. So Dan Campbell essentially said, well, Kevin Zeitler is better than Jonah Jackson. So that's how you get the upgrade. 1 + 1 = 2, right? So now they're in a position that they haven't been in the 4 years. They can go into the draft. They can get whoever they want because, not just because, but they can get whoever they want as they have been doing. We know this. We know people didn't agree with Jahmyr Gibbs, the electrician, at number 12. It was crazy. Oh my God. Can't draft a running back at number 12. What is this? 1995? Nope. It's not 1995. It's a BPA. And Jahmyr Gibbs clearly balled out. It's a BPA. You traded up to get an injured Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams in the second half of that season, he did come on. Just down the stretch, he did come on. He did have 2 touchdowns in the NFC Championship game. I mean, when he hit that reverse, you know what I'm talking about? I was he's the best player available at that time. And hopefully, because they have so much confidence in him and they are telling the people that they have confidence in him and he's working, he's doing it the right way, he's going to get his opportunities to shine next to Amon-Ra St. Brown on the other side. The BPA. Hutch, obviously, the BPA. So much of BPA. Obviously, the one thing that sticks out to me is the Broderick Martin situation because of where he was drafted. And, the trade up to get him, all these things. But it's BPA, man. So whatever their board says, it's going to say best player available. If it's at 29, if they stay at 29, they can go any way. And I wouldn't be surprised. And what I will say is if it's not a player that I want, I'm just going to say it was the best player available. He was the one that they had graded the best. He's the one that they had graded the highest in this situation. That's all that it's going to come down to. That is the draft strategy of the Detroit Lions. They are picking the player who they believe is the best for their team. It is not based on need. It is not based on a requirement, a quota, or anything of that nature. It is best player available. So when you guys do your mock drafts, don't talk about what they need. Don't talk about holes that they need to fill, because that's not what they're doing. And you're going to probably set yourself up to be disappointed if you feel like that, well, we need this. We need a corner, so they're going to go and get one. They're not going to do that. That's if they get a corner, is because that corner was the best player that they had on their draft board. That's it. That is it. Both of these men, the men that are responsible for drafting, okay, the general manager and the head coach are the ones that are responsible for drafting. The offensive coordinator is not responsible for drafting. The offensive coordinator can make a suggestion. The defensive coordinator can make a suggestion, but the general manager is ultimately the one that's responsible for drafting players. This is why Bill Belichick was drafting players as the head coach, because he was also the GM. You do not see this around the league too much. The head coaches do not draft the players. The head coaches tell the GM who they want. And if it's a good GM, They are collaborative, like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. We might as well start calling them Brad Campbell. Hey, I started calling those people Quinn Trisha. And hey, if we want to call them Brad Campbell, let's get it done. But anyway, they are collaborative. We already know that they work together during the draft process. And they are always, I would say 99% of the time, they are in lockstep. Dan Campbell has to coach these players. Brad Holmes, his job is to build a roster which is going to win us football games. So when Dan Campbell tells Brad Holmes about a guy and they just sit there and discuss it, then they become in lockstep. Okay, this is the type of player we want on the team. This is what the player is going to do for the team. It's not, we need an edge here, or we need a wide receiver here, or we need this here, or we need that here. They told us that is not what the draft is for. So again, for all you mock draft guys out there, just remember, when you do your Lions mock drafts, just grab the best player available, even if you don't think it makes sense. Even if you don't think it makes sense. And you've seen Brad Holmes double dip. He's doubled up on positions. He's doubled up on defensive linemen. He's done that. Aleem McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike. Now, Levi Onwuzurike has not turned out to be great, but he'll double up. He's not afraid to double up. So you might see something like, and I would be shocked, but you might see something like Brian Thomas Jr. in round 1 and Xavier Legette in round 2. I don't think it's going to happen. But what I'm saying to you is, if it's BPA, it's BPA. Again, there are trades and things of this nature. You know, Brad Holmes doesn't like to sit still. I'm pretty sure that he will make at least one trade in this draft. He'll move around the board, whether it be up or down. Again, if you look at what Dan Campbell said about DPJ, he said he's a big body receiver, a guy that can play the position. And now he has more understanding of the offense because we got him at the deadline. This is what I said. We got him at the deadline. He didn't really have a big role. Obviously, that Ben Johnson offense is complicated, and you have to learn it, and you have to understand your role in it and how you will help and produce in that offense. Now he understands that more. So now he's going to have a training camp, yada, yada, yada. So they're confident in DPJ. So again, but it doesn't matter about their confidence in DPJ, though, because best player available is best player available. That's all I can say. I just have to keep saying best player available. So your mock drafts, again, if they need this, they need that. That's not how they're drafting. That's not how they're drafting. But if it does shake out to be that way, if it does shake out to be Jared Verse is the best player that they believe, like the board is shaking out, and Jared Verse drops down to 20, and they're like, man, this dude, he's the best that we can get, and they move up 9 spots to get him. It wasn't because they were trying to fill a need. It was because they saw that player, they saw what he could do for the team, and said, that's the guy that we need to go and acquire. It's the same thing that they did with Jameson Williams. That's why they moved up 20 spots to get him. He can do something great for our football team, so we need to go up and get him. That was it. That was the thinking behind the Jameson Williams trade. That was the thinking behind drafting Jahmyr Gibbs, drafting Jack Campbell, drafting Sam Laporta, drafting Brian Branch. That is the thinking. Go get the best players available. That is it. The trades happen when people are coming off the board. You might have had someone come off the board and you're like, dang, that was the best player available. Okay, now let's move on to our contingency plan and get the next player after that. We might have to move up to do that, and then they will do it. So this is their draft strategy. Let me know if you guys think I am off base. Let me know in the comments. It's all good. It is all good. If you agree with me, let me know in the comments. It is all good. But I'm telling you, we get our hopes up about certain players and thinking this, that, and the third thing. I mean, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, I just talked about Brad Campbell moving up 20 spots to get Jameson Williams. I don't have any evidence of this, what I'm about to say, but I would not be surprised if Dallas Turner falls to number 9. I'm not going to be surprised because I've said before, we've seen him move up 20 spots before. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised at anything that Brad Holmes does or doesn't do. Do not be surprised because it's BPA. And if they think that they can get a player who's BPA and they want that player and they have a chance to go ahead and get him and they have the assets to move up, well, they don't think it's too expensive. I mean, obviously you can dip into the assets for next year and things of that nature. If they think that that's what's best for the team, that's what's going to happen. So all these things that we think are crazy, like, there's no way. It's a pipe dream that we can get Terrion Arnold, or it's a pipe dream that we could get Dallas Turner, or because remember, Brad Holmes made it a point to go to the Alabama Pro Day. He made it a point. He skipped Michigan's Pro Day, and he made it a point to go to the Alabama Pro Day because he had not seen them play live. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I don't have a source that says that they're going to move up to get Terrion Arnold or a Dallas Turner. I don't have a source that says that. But my source is just listening to Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and their philosophy on drafting the best player available. But that is all the time that we have for today, guys. As I said, let me know in the comments what you think. As always, I'm going to need you to subscribe. Smash that like button, smash it like it did something to you. And I'm also going to ask you to be the type of friend that shares with another friend. Tell them, let them know this is the kitchen that they want to be in. If they want to get that Lions meal, if you want to get that pregame meal, if you want to get that after game snack, if you want to get that mid-game snack, hey, if you want to get that off-season snack, that off-season meal, come holla at your boy. And as always, until next time, peace.